Today on Week in Review, Terrace's mayor gave his thoughts on the Canada-United States tariff situation. There's a report that looks at the differing alcohol sales rates inside of BC recently, and Taylor Backrack is looking to see how tariffs could affect BC communities. Hello, I'm Cael Maslin, and thank you for joining us here on Week in Review, where we cover all of the news here in the Northwest from this past week. A recent interview with the mayor of Terrace covered topics like uncertainty surrounding the Canada-United States trade war, along with a way that BC is trying to shore up its health worker shortage.
The current political landscape and relationship between Canada and the United States is dealing with a large amount of turmoil that stems from U.S. President Donald Trump's crusade to saddle his neighboring allies with tariffs, something that even Europe hasn't been exempt from, as he recently threatened to hit the European Union with 200% tariffs on alcohol. But when it comes to the U.S. relations with Canada, Terrace Mayor Sean Bouitosh recently gave his thoughts on the state of the relationship between the North American neighbors, as well as the ever-evolving tariff situation.
Well, I think unfortunate is definitely the way to describe the tariff situation with the United States. It's a bit of a struggle to follow because it seems that the president of the United States just continues to change the direction he goes every 2 seconds. So it's really hard to keep track and follow and mitigate the issues, I guess, as we move forward.
Bouitosh also went on to say that his biggest concerns were how the tariffs might affect food costs, as well as Rio Tinto considering Trump's often mentioned aluminum tariffs. Another recent consequence of the trade war is that BC seems to plan on trying to poach whatever medical professionals they can from the U.S. amidst the chaos, with Bouitosh having thoughts on that news and how it pertains to tariffs as well.
That's great. And, we'll be welcoming any doctor that wants to, healthcare workers, period, honestly, not just doctors, nurses, whoever, if they want to come in this area. I've been working with Northern Health to try and work on this medical staff shortage. So trying to meet with new people that are interested in coming here, and I'll continue to lend that support to them.
BC is also currently working to make it possible for any American doctors or nurses to become fully licensed in BC very quickly, as to avoid any unnecessary hassle and to make it so that they can start working as soon as possible. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cael Maslin.
To news from the Terrace RCMP, who recently revealed the two people that have been charged in the fatal hit-and-run that killed Cameron Kerr in 2018. Back on November 18, 2018, at approximately 3 in the morning, Cameron Kerr was walking along Highway 16 when he was struck by a westbound vehicle just west of Terrace. Cameron's body was allegedly rolled into the ditch where he would remain until he was discovered later that day by a passerby. Arrests were made, however no charges were laid at the time, and the investigation was later transferred to the BC RCMP Major Crime Special Projects Unit. Now, 7 years later, 2 men have been arrested in connection with the fatal hit-and-run. Taylor Storgren and Conrad Weirs-Bickey, both of whom are from Surrey and have since been charged with indignity to human remains and obstructing justice. Storgren has also been charged with failure to stop at the scene of an accident, both of whom are scheduled to appear in court in the near future. Skeena MP Taylor Backrack has been canvassing the Northwest and some of the region's largest employers in order to understand the effects of the looming potential tariffs that could have on our communities. Here's Jaylene Matthews of CFTK-TV with more information.
Skeena MP Taylor Backrack spoke with industries and employers in the Northwest over the past month, assessing the potential impact of tariffs on their industries. He says for some, there are other markets.
Certainly softwood lumber is something that affects a lot of people in the Northwest, and aluminum as well. And, every industry has a different dynamic with the United States. And so the direct impacts on different industries are going to be different. With aluminum, for instance, I was speaking with the Aluminum Association of Canada and talking about the dynamic with different aluminum producers. Canada is very well positioned because most of our aluminum smelters have access to the ocean. We're able to access different international markets. And while the American market is very important, there are other buyers around the world that also need aluminum.
Backrack says many American producers don't have other options when it comes to Canadian goods.
The interesting thing about these tariffs is that American producers of things that need things like aluminum, they don't have a lot of other options. When Los Angeles rebuilds its housing, they don't have a lot of other options other than Canadian softwood lumber. When they're building cars in the United States, they need Canadian aluminum. And so to some degree, American manufacturers are just going to have to pay the tariff to access Canadian exports. Now, the challenge is that raises the price of everything. And a lot of those products then come back across the border and are purchased by Canadian consumers.
For CFTK-TV News in Terrace, I'm Jayleen Matthews.
While the northern region of British Columbia recorded a higher rate of alcohol sales compared to some other areas, the province as a whole had the lowest rate that it had had in over 2 decades. CFTK-TV's Damian Smith has more on this story.
Released today from the BC Rural Health Network, the province is reporting a 9% drop in alcohol sales from the 2023 to 2024 period. Now, in the past year, British Columbia has seen a 9% drop in alcohol sales since last year, which is the largest fall since the 2001 to 2002 time span. In particular, in the Northwest, Stikine was the local health area in Northern Health with the highest rate in alcohol sales in 2023 to 24 at over 1,150 standard drinks per person of ages 15 and over. And in terms of health service delivery area, the Northwest region placed second behind East Kootenay with a total of 731. And compared to the entire province, the North places second behind the Central Interior at 603. And a potential factor for the overall drop is the significant population increase that BC has seen over the past few years, especially when pairing that with moderate alcohol sales. With immigrants arriving from countries that typically consume less alcohol, that has also been a big influence in the drop. The BCRHN has said that despite the good headline, British Columbians still consume an average of 9 drinks per week, which is at about 50% more than what is suggested by Canada's guidance on alcohol and health. From CFTK-TV, I'm Damian Smith.
The federal government has announced more than $1.5 million of new funding to support 3 projects that advance the creation of prefabricated wood for construction in BC. A $955,000 portion of the funding will go to BCIT for the construction of a new 2-story pavilion that will serve as an educational hub at the school. $300,000 will go to the Prefab Buildings Initiative, which creates energy-efficient timber designs for multiple types of buildings. The government last said the remaining $219,000 will go to Skias Advisory to create an online directory of companies across Canada that specialize in prefabricating parts for needed construction. On their Budget 2025 Engage Terrace page, the City of Terrace receives various questions from the local population, and the city recently highlighted some of the higher profile questions that they had answered. Questions that were highlighted include: how is Terrace prepping in case of a train derailment? In what ways can local highways be made a bit safer? What is Terrace doing to improve healthcare? And can the city possibly end up attaining a walk-in clinic at some point? Anyone who wishes to see the detailed answers can check out the Budget 2025 section of the city's website. Up next, Prince Rupert is taking in applications for a reopened program. Welcome back. Local and regional artists looking to put their work in the public eye have an upcoming opportunity to do so just in the city of Terrace. The Skeena Salmon Arts Fest Society has put out a call that is asking for artwork that they are looking to display as banners between July of this year to July of next year in downtown Terrace. The main theme of the art that they are looking for is Skeena salmon, and the deadline to send in a submission is midnight on March 28th. Guidelines for what submissions should look like can be downloaded from the Art Fest Society's website. While it still might be a bit before true summer vacation weather rolls into the Northwest, anyone looking to take a camping vacation in Terrace will soon be able to lay claim to a spot. On March 15th, the City of Terrace will allow anyone to book a campsite at the Ferry Island Campground, despite the fact that it will not be officially open to campers until May. But in the meantime, anyone who is looking to take a walk around the area to take in the sights like the trees or the still fairly new salmon statue that was placed by the new Dudley Little Bridge near the river can do so year-round. More information about what can be done at Ferry Island can be found on the City of Terrace's website. The City of Prince Rupert says their Economic Development Office is once again accepting applications for their facade improvement program. The program, which is supported by the Northern Development Initiative Trust, hands out funding to selected local businesses in the downtown core who apply to the program so that they can use said funding in order to update their exterior. $20,000 in total was provided by the Northern Development Initiative Trust for the program, and each individual business that gets selected by the city can receive up to $5,000. All of the other major details about the program, such as the application expenses, as well as the application form, can be found on the City of Prince Rupert's website. The Kitimat RCMP has once again publicly released their weekly report, with it covering the end of February as well as the first few days of March this time around. The most notable part of the report talked about how yet another trailer had recently gone missing, with it being seemingly stolen during the night while it was located on the 300 block of Railway Avenue. The trailer has been described in the report as being a black 2022 8x12 Canadian Trailers hydraulic heavy dump duty trailer, and it's said to have a BC license plate number that reads 21879K. The Kitimat RCMP are asking for anyone who has information that can potentially lead to the trailer's discovery and or the potential perpetrators being caught as well to call them at 250-632-7111. Kitimat's firefighters have recently put out a request asking for people to donate vehicles that they can use in their emergency response training. They're offering to take in any vehicles that are beyond the point of being repaired, and are also letting people know that they can avoid paying disposal fees by donating to the Kitimat Firefighting Training Program. Any donated vehicles must be arranged to be taken to their training ground on Forest Avenue. All types of vehicles are accepted, and you can call 250-632-8940 in order to arrange your donation. After the break, the District of Kitimat is painting a picture of how their 2025 budget could look. Welcome back. Similar to an announcement that Prince Rupert recently made, the town of Smithers is also offering a chance for local businesses in the downtown area to do some upgrades. Smithers is reintroducing their Storefront Spruce Up program for 2025, which is a program that will allow businesses that apply and then later get selected to get funding that they can put towards either renovating or even redesigning their retail storefronts. And similar to Prince Rupert's version of the program, grants given out go up to a maximum of $5,000, and the funds were also provided by the Northern Development Initiative Trust. The deadline to apply for a grant is June 1st, and the application, alongside what costs can be covered by the program, is available on the Town of Smithers website. The District of Kitimat has recently publicized that their budget for 2025 is getting closer to being fully completed, while also painting a picture of how it might look once it's finalized. With the way that it's currently being presented, the budget would increase by almost 5%, and one of the more notable changes in it would see the water rate go up by $3.42 a month, or $205 a year. The district's council also needs to make choices in regards to the many grant applications that they've gotten from the likes of the Kitimat Public Library, the Kitimat Museum and Archives, the Tamatic Status of Women, and Mount Elizabeth Theater, with the applications combining to ask for a total of nearly $3 million. Exact numbers and more details on the budget are available on the district's website. To go with announcements made by fellow Northwestern communities in Smithers and Prince Rupert, the District of Kitimat is also opening up their own business facade improvement program. The program will hand out grants of up to $5,000 so that local businesses can work on making improvements or upgrading their retail storefronts. And just like their Northwestern area compatriots, the funds for the program were given to the district by the Northern Development Initiative Trust, but the application deadline for them is instead on November 1st, and other differing details can be found on the district's website. Over to Smithers yet again, the RCMP there let it be known that they will be increasing their foot patrols as warmer weather begins to hit the north. And with spring nearing as well, the police detachment has publicly committed to increasing their visibility in the community and interacting with members of the public a bit more frequently. The department is also aiming to make sure that they can address any safety concerns that people may have directly, which is another way that they believe that they can build up their relationship with the community. The Smithers RCMP is also encouraging anyone who has some kind of safety concern to contact them directly, which can be done over the phone by calling them at 250-847-3233. At the end of February, the Vanderhoof RCMP closed down the community's local post office due to concerns about some strange packages that the building received. And despite the packages only containing a non-toxic substance, the North District General Investigation Section is now in charge of the investigation and is asking for public help to try and find who sent these packages, along with the threatening statements that came with them and targeted specific employees of the area school district. Anyone that has potentially useful information that can lead to the case being solved is asked to call the Vanderhoof RCMP at 250-567-2222. Still to come is a preview of the looming end of the CIHL playoffs. Welcome back. Not long after having to deal with them for a little while, a pair of northwestern BC communities were once again subjected to local dust advisories. As was during the case during the previous week, both Smithers and Houston were hit with those advisories, although this time they were not joined by Burns Lake. Coarse particulate matter was also the reason for the advisories once again being put into place, and people dealing with respiratory medical issues were advised to avoid straining activities while the dust lingered, although now both communities have had their respective advisories lifted as of a couple of days ago. A much anticipated film that was made in and around Prince Rupert, and it began showing in the city fairly recently. The fantasy movie features locations like Cow Bay, North Pacific Cannery, and Kaloya Bay, along with a cast and crew that spotlights many Canadians.
Where days didn't exist. No one got older. No one died. This island, it had a call in all times.
You a ghost?
I don't know.
With it playing at the Famous Players in Prince Rupert, it has also already had showtimes in Vancouver, as well as several American cities, with it reportedly getting more Canadian dates in the future. The postseason in the Central Interior Hockey League is set to wrap up soon, as the best-of-2 series in the CIHL final got underway the previous weekend. The West Fraser Center in Quesnel played host to Game 1 of the series between the defending champion Terrace River Kings and their challenger for the crown, the Quesnel Kangaroos. In a tightly contested affair, the River Kings took the early edge of the series with a 3-2 win on the road, and now will have 2 chances at home to lock up another championship. The winner of the series will also compete later this month in the annual Koi Cup tourney. And sticking with the subject of hockey in that same league, this weekend we'll see a packed house at the Terrace Sportsplex as the River Kings look to win another CIHL title. Damian Smith from CFTK-TV has the preview.
Well, the finals of the Central Interior Hockey League are now underway, and the Terrace River Kings will have an opportunity to win their second consecutive Cameron Kerr Trophy. The team will have 2 opportunities to do so on Saturday evening at 7 p.m., which is expected to be a sold-out crowd, followed by a second chance the next afternoon at 1 p.m. The team recorded a buy-in into the semifinals against the Hazelton Wolverines, which was another close series between the 2 rivals. Terrace won Game 1 on the road, followed by a loss at home, and then had a comeback win for a Game 3 victory.
That win on Saturday, the first weekend in Hazelton, was huge. Shorter bench. Didn't have everybody able to go, but everyone who was there was willing to give everything, and that's kind of the mentality we've got. And then coming home, we were hoping to get it done on Saturday. A couple tough bounces. We didn't play a 60-minute game. We turned it on for the last 10 and made it close, and couldn't get a bounce there in the last couple seconds. But On Sunday, I think the group was pretty positive in the fact that we were going to go out and get a job done, and went down again 3-1. But there's no break with this group. A lot of bend, but no break.
And it's somewhat of a trend for Ebleen and the River Kings, who haven't been perfect in the playoffs over the years, but have managed to come out with 3 Cameron Kerr trophies in the past 4 years.
All 3 years I've played on the River Kings, we've won Game 1 in Hazelton, had a bit of an egg on Saturday night in Terrace for Game 2, and then come back on Sunday and finish it off. So the experience of 3 seasons of this really helped out, I think, like last year especially.
The opponent that the River Kings will look to beat is the Quesnel Kangaroos, who were right behind them in the regular season standings. And in Game 1 on the road, the short bench had an 8-hour bus ride to think about how they were going to prepare for Game 1, which they ended up winning by a score of 3-2. Pretty
common in this group is a lot of like homegrown Terrace kids who are super proud to put on that jersey and have always wanted to. Everyone stepped up. We have this kind of chat for the game, and when you're on the road in a packed arena, you always talk about weathering the storm and holding on and making sure you survive that first 10 minutes. But we kind of chatted about being the storm, kind of taking it to them, and that really did pay off for us, as we were able to bang in 2 in the first and then just play a defensively smart game and hold on there in the end.
And this could actually be a revenge series for the Terrace River Kings, as of course they've had a lot of success over the past 4 years, but the one year they did not win was in 2023, and that was up against the Quesnel Kangaroos. So it will be a great opportunity for this team to win on home ice here at the Terrace Sportsplex. From CFTK-TV, I'm Damian Smith.
And now back to the trade war. The effect of the war is set to have a variety of effects, with one perhaps more unexpected being on how the weather gets predicted. Here's CTV's Paul Hollingsworth with more.
Massive layoffs at NOAA have caused a chain reaction of concern within the weather forecasting community.
Any loss of data is a loss.
Retired meteorologist Gary Lines says Canada and the U.S. work together when gathering weather data. In a statement, Environment Canada confirmed they have a long-standing relationship with NOAA in operational weather, climate, satellites, and water monitoring activities. According to Lines, scaling back NOAA's forecasting capabilities and reducing the number of scientific experts on staff could have an impact on predicting the intensity of severe storms. Forecasters gather and communicate weather data in real time, hour by hour, sometimes minute by minute.
Any reduction in that is going to have an impact not only in the U.S. and Canada.
Evan Price plans construction projects based on the forecast and has questions about how weather and climate details will be gathered in the future.
There's documents that are layered on top of each other that pull from statistics and create reliabilities that certainly if the United States is not carrying up their end, then we're going to have to figure out somewhere else to compile that data.
Price says knowing the timing and intensity of a storm are critical details, especially in areas impacted by hurricanes and severe weather. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
That wraps up this week's edition of Week in Review. Make sure to tune in to our regular newscasts on Monday at 5, 6, 6:30, and 11 o'clock here on CFTK-TV. Thank you very much for tuning in, and have a good weekend.